Welcome. Read A Course in Miracles along with us in our home style text class. For information about our live workbook classes, email us and check out our website for more course support, including retreats at the Little Garden in Sedona.
So what are we doing today, my dear?
Today we're starting on chapter 12.
Yay.
Yeah, we're making progress. It doesn't seem to be getting simpler and easier as we go along. This is a very simple section. It's called The Judgment of the Holy Spirit, first section in chapter 12. So in A Course in Miracles Foundation for Inner Peace version, it's on page 215.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have noticed, and Timothy concurs, good thing, that if you recognize from the very beginning of this first paragraph that the context is your brother's error.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of it in that way, everything falls into place. So let's have Dale read the first paragraph and give us your wise thoughts.
So clarify that again. You don't want us to, he's not asking us to look at it in the abstract.
Or the abstract or my errors even.
Right.
I mean, it's going to come down to my errors.
Right.
It definitely will. But the whole thing will move along in a sequence. If you think of that first part as talking about your brother's errors.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so we see somebody doing something mean and we say, he's really that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that what he's going to proffer here is that the split in the mind is this disjunction between how we're behaving and what emotions we're experiencing.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. That's what he's looking at healing here. So our emotions and our actions will be congruent and give one meaning.
Are you ready, Dale?
Okay, here we go. The judgment of the Holy Spirit. You have been told not to make error real. And the way you do this is very simple. If you want to believe in error, you would have to make it real because it is not true. But truth is real in its own right. And to believe in truth, you do not have to do anything. You know, that's really a really meaningful first two statements. I think it goes back to what we've been talking about the last few weeks about looking at things in the terms of non-resistance. And if we just said, I'm trying to teach myself to look at things that appear in the physical world and not put too much into them.
Yeah.
Regardless of the appearance. If I can do that first step initially, quickly,
Yeah.
it seems like things get easier.
Mm-hmm.
Really good observation.
Yeah.
Catch it right at the beginning.
Understand that you do not respond to anything directly, but to your interpretation of it. Again, a really profound statement. It's how I see things. I have the choice in the moment of how I'm going to respond to what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I can look at it and go, okay. And it gets a little metaphysical, which has been really difficult, but it's really not. That what's appearing to me, really, I have a choice here. Which way am I going to look at it? Am I going to see that person, that situation, the divinity in it, and forgive myself quickly and move on? Or am I going to get drugged down in letting the ego beat me up?
Right on.
Yep.
Your interpretation thus becomes the justification for the response. That is why analyzing the motives of others is hazardous to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, do I do that.
How true, Jesus.
Yeah, if you decide that someone is really trying to attack you, or desert you, or enslave you, you will respond as if he had actually done so, having made the error real to you. To interpret error is to give it power. Having done that, this you will overlook truth. That's really a profound first opening statement because there's so much in there. It's just a matter of seems to me, just training our minds to change how we look at things. And
Yeah.
it's really difficult when it's real personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that are just out in the world. I don't like that or this or that. Those are things that we can let go. But when it's a personal attack of some kind, it becomes much more difficult, but it's still doable. Just have to
Oh, yeah.
decide that we want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no order of difficulty in miracles, and the real miracle, the original miracle, is changing our mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can do that. What struck anyone else about this first paragraph?
It's talking about understand you do not respond to anything directly, but to your interpretation of it. That gives me all power.
That's it.
Yeah.
No order
You
of
know?
difficulty.
No, that's it. It's all power.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe, but when you finally, when you start to believe it, it's like every once in a while, I just pause and just realize the awesomeness behind those words. It's just really a mind stopper sometimes, It's like, this is my reaction to it. And
Right.
yeah, it's just, why am I doing this again?
That's
Right.
wonderful.
Right on.
Yeah. So that, the whole idea of making something real it's a course jargon, we'll say. To make something real means to make ourselves believe that it is real. It isn't real. So when he uses that phrase, it means we're deluding ourselves. So I think that's probably pretty clear in this paragraph.
And when you believe in truth, you don't have to do anything.
That's
Yeah.
it. Right.
I mean, hey, that's really good news.
That's very good news.
Right.
And I personally, I always come back to that place in the lessons where it says this thought is wholly, completely true.
Mhm.
I am one self, united with my creator, at one with every aspect of creation, limitless in power and in peace. And I hold on to that as a statement of truth. Like, it just kind of wraps everything up for me. And it certainly does fit in this context.
So it's very, very clear that the issue is my interpretation, that's the interference.
That is
With
the
the truth.
interference. Yeah,
And the truth doesn't need my help.
right.
The Holy Spirit doesn't need my help in understanding what's going on, he says later on. It's the whole power of it is my interpretation. And when I see that, I can stop. Instead of analyzing the motives, whether,
Holy Spirit does need your help.
well, he does need your help. He needs you to go along with it. But what I'm saying is that if I see that my interpretations are, look at the cognitive life, abandonment, enslavement, or attack.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That pretty much covers the ego's world.
Yeah.
And if I recognize that those are just interpretations, abandonment, attack, or enslavement, then I can stop it.
Right.
And that's why Kathy's saying there's so much power in it. There's no order of difficulty. It's just my interpretation.
Exactly.
Make room for truth.
And it sure does look real.
Yeah.
We see people murdering. Sure does look real. But he's telling us there's another way to see things. And as I've mentioned before, this is a course in miracles. This is not a course in very small incremental steps toward maybe making yourself just a little bit happier. This is a course in miracles, turning everything upside down, completely disbelieving the world of the ego, of fear, of attack, of murder, not believing it, asking Holy Spirit for another interpretation.
Right.
When we see those things.
See, this is how he makes the domain of learning very clear to us.
Yeah.
Like, there's no interpretations in truth and reality. But if we recognize that we're making interpretations here,
Yeah.
then the Holy Spirit has to meet us and say,
Yes.
here, try my interpretation.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Right.
You're not enslaved. You're not abandoned. You're not attacked. It's just your interpretation.
Right.
And that really empowers. I mean, there's no order of difficulty in miracles if it's just my interpretation.
Right. Any other thoughts on that first paragraph?
The analyzing the motives of others.
It's funny, huh?
Yeah, it's hazard. It's like the whole course is in this paragraph, really and truly.
Right.
It could be. Yeah. Well, would you like to continue on, Kathy, with paragraph 2?
Certainly. The analyst of ego motivation is very complicated, very obscuring, and never without your own ego involvement. Okay, so my ego has to be analyzing their ego. The whole process represents a clear-cut attempt to demonstrate your own ability to understand what you perceive. Okay. This is shown by the fact that you react to your own interpretations as if they were correct.
Of course.
Yeah. But it's a gentle looking at your thinking your stuff is right. It's not like you're wrong. It's just look at it. If it's making you happy or not, right?
You got it.
Okay. This is shown by the fact that you react to your interpretations as if they were correct. You may think you may then control your reactions behaviorally, but not emotionally. This would obviously be a split or an attack on the integrity of your mind, pitting one level within it against another. Boy, that is such a perfect description of when I go to war with myself. You know, when I'm really fighting something that I'm, any kind of behavior that you don't want to keep on doing, the repetitious behavior,
So let's focus on this because this is really clear. He's talking about what is it that's attacking the integrity of my mind? What is
my interpretations, right?
My interpretation, but what I was going to say is the disjunction here is between what my emotion is telling me and what my actions are telling me.
Right.
It's a disjunction between emotion and behavior. So I'm going, I'm not upset.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When that's exactly what you're feeling, and you try and fix it by your behaviors or changing something else or changing that, when you just need to change, that's my emotion. That's what I'm experiencing. Is that true?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And, I think one thing that I found to be really helpful in counseling course students is if you feel anger or sadness or whatever it is, if you feel some form of fear, it's just a feeling. It's just an interpretation. It's not who you are, right? So we tend to say when we're judging other people, he's an angry person. No, he experiences anger. Don't I? Am I not now?
Right. So this is why, one of the reasons the course is so loving, it meets us right where we're at. And it's saying, the truth is true. You don't have to interpret it. You don't have to do anything to make the truth of who you are be real to you in this moment.
Right.
All you have to do is recognize the problem is my interpretations. Let the Holy Spirit interpret. Not that I go beyond interpretations. I need a new interpretation by the Holy Spirit. And basically, all that he's going to say is these opposites to life, like death is the opposite to life, fear is the opposite to love, sickness is the opposite to healing. You take those things that are denying, like fear is denying reality, and here we're going to let fear be an affirmation of love.
Well, we'll see that in the next paragraph.
Right. But he meets us right where we're at, where we're interpreting, and we can see that and stop and ask for help.
Right. Right.
I have an example of that, behaviors versus emotions.
Great.
It's like any self-improvement program you get yourself on, it's like if you're eating really healthy and you just feel like crap and you think that by your actions, you should feel good,
Right on.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Or if I act a certain way, I'm going to get a result out there. So that was one example of it. but it can also be interpersonal. I'm not going to act angry because I want that person to like me. But the
Mhm.
fact is, I'm angry, I'm not liking myself, and I'm creating a split in my mind by hiding my anger. It's just creates more turmoil. It creates more separation, or we're staying in the belief in
See,
separation.
and that's the hamster wheel, because now
Yeah.
how should I act? How should I act? How should I act? What do
Right,
these actions mean? When you can stop and say, this is just an emotion I'm experiencing.
right.
And
Yeah.
it's interpreting for me what reality seems to be. And I can just stop that. You
Yeah.
don't have to do anything to make truth real.
Yeah. Connie, would you like to read 3 for us, please?
Sure. There is but one interpretation of motivation that makes any sense. And because it is the Holy Spirit's judgment, it requires no effort at all on your part. Every loving thought is true. Everything else is an appeal for healing and help, regardless of the form it takes. Can anyone be justified in responding with anger to a brother's plea for help? No response can be appropriate except the willingness to give it to him, for this and only this is what he is asking for. That's the Course's call for love.
Yeah. Sure.
Offer him anything else, and you are assuming the right to attack his reality by interpreting it as you see fit. Perhaps the danger of this to your own mind is not yet fully apparent. The danger there is that I react to my perception, which is usually based on my own feeling, which you said before, which feelings usually come from an earlier time and something I made up in life.
Mhm.
If you believe that an appeal for help is something else, you will react to something else. In other words, if I perceive their call for help as my not being liked or my being attacked or whatever, that's what I'm going to react to. Your response will therefore be inappropriate to reality as it is, but not to your perception of it. So I'm reaction of whatever the situation is, like we said, and rather than, which is a call for love, which is usually the other person coming from their ego based on their feelings. So it's ego to ego.
Yeah.
Laying around.
And so it's all unreal.
Yeah.
It's all a big drama of imagination.
See how this reinforces the ego's main game is try to learn but don't succeed.
Yeah.
Try to find something but don't succeed, because the ego, rather than have us look at the interpretation, it says, look at the behaviors.
Mhm.
And then we're asking, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about it? And you'll never get an answer, because it's simply about the emotions that come from your interpretation. Right? So I'm not going to respond behaviorally to that. I want to heal that in myself.
So all of this, emotions, interpretation, perception, they all come from beliefs.
Yeah.
As we saw, I think it was in our last section and the last couple of sections. So it's like, what is the belief? The belief is my brother is separate from me and can hurt me. And a new belief is I'm one with him.
Right.
And I'm projecting the darkness.
Right.
I'm projecting the belief in attack, abandonment, and
Right.
enslavement.
So in the section before this, it was saying, this is your great need, instruction in perception.
Right.
So you said in paragraph 3 in the last section, the problem and the answer, You do not know the meaning of anything you perceive. Not one thought you hold is wholly true. Well, when I'm coming from the ego, that's true. I do have my loving thoughts. The recognition of this is your firm beginning. You're not misguided. You've accepted no guide at all. Instruction and perception is your great need, for you understand nothing. Recognize this, but do not accept it, for understanding is your inheritance. Perceptions are learned, and you're not without a teacher. Yet your willingness to learn of him depends on your willingness to question everything you learned of yourself.
Yeah, everything you learn from the ego.
For you have learned amiss and should not be your own teacher.
Yeah, okay. So this section is following right on that one.
Yeah, instruction and perceptions.
Mhm.
I mean, how hopeless can it be to keep trying to act in different ways where it's never going to help?
Because we think that we've been attacked or somebody else has been attacked.
Abandoned, enslaved, or attacked.
Yeah.
That's
This
the
is
range
where
of
I
it.
think it's so helpful for me. If I go into the feeling, like you said, basically feel the feeling, and you see, if you really look at the feeling that ego's giving me, when I really look at it, I realize what it is. And it's like, it's all about my feeling attacked or my feeling inadequate or wronged. And, that's all made up.
Yeah.
And
Right.
this section is going to say that the fear will disappear.
All right, let's go.
Exactly.
Hi, Laura, would you read next? 4?
Sure. There is nothing to prevent you from recognizing all calls for help as exactly what they are, except your own imagined need to attack. It is only this that makes you willing to engage in endless battles with reality, in which you deny the reality of the need for healing by making it unreal. You would not do this except for your unwillingness to accept reality as it is, and which you therefore withhold from yourself. Let me read this again. So it's your own imagined need to attack that shows up in the brother.
Yes.
So I can't see something that I don't perceive myself, right? So if it's whatever reaction is from a brother is really just what I've projected, which means that I'm the one who's feeling angry or fearful or whatever. Otherwise, I wouldn't see it my perception, right? I mean, I can't see something happening to another person unless I have that in my mind.
Yeah, it may not be in exactly the same form.
Yeah.
But the desire to attack, when we see a problem,
Yeah.
it's because we want the problem.
Mm.
That's the hardest thing to accept, because we want to be innocent at somebody else's expense. They're guilty, I'm innocent. So we are desiring to see attack when we see attack. And this is the work of the Course, and this is the work of our life here, is just to wake up to that and to say, I don't want to attack. I don't want to be attacked. I want reality, which is the Christ in all of us.
It's like he said, take a look at this idea that whatever you do is for the protection or the enjoyment or the safety of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep acting in ways like, how can I make myself safe?
Right.
How can I make myself fulfilled? But you're doing it through behavior
Mm-hmm.
instead of through the mind's ability
Mm.
to have the Holy Spirit reinterpret your emotion.
And reinterpret the whole world that we see.
That's will
Yeah.
come once we clean it up here with that
Yeah.
imagined need to attack.
Yeah.
Like the ego goes, well, of course you need to defend yourself. Look what they're doing.
Yeah. Right.
They're enslaving you. They're going to abandon you. You know, the enslavement part is like duty to
Yeah.
family, right?
Yeah.
I must be loyal. I can't, right?
I have to do these things because of my role.
And then I'm resentful and I'm so confused about my actions and what my emotions are.
Yeah.
I'm in darkness.
Yeah. We all know that, I think. Yeah. If we listen to the Holy Spirit, it's going to be a loving reaction. As we were talking just now with this,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, well, a psychopath doesn't have any sense of, responsibility either.
Yeah.
But that's not the freedom that the Holy Spirit is offering to us. Let's go on. I think it'll all become more apparent. Eric, could you read 5, please?
It is surely good advice to tell you not to judge what you do not understand. No one with a personal investment is a reliable witness, for truth to him has become what he wants it to be. In the, I've written here, personal investment equals belief in the ego.
Yep.
Yeah.
So belief in the individual
Yep.
person. Yeah. And anybody who's got that isn't a reliable witness. So whatever your senses are telling you isn't true.
Yeah.
If you are unwilling to perceive an appeal for help as what it is because you're unwilling to give help and to receive it. To fail to recognize a call for help is to refuse help. Wow. Would you maintain that you do not need it? Yeah, this is what you are maintaining when you refuse to recognize a brother's appeal, for only by answering his appeal can you be helped. Deny him your help and you will not recognize God's answer to you. The Holy Spirit does not need your help in interpreting motivation, but you do need his. Wow. Would you maintain that you do not need it? So is it saying that whenever there's a call for help or something that we interpret as something we don't like, an attack or whatever it is, then only by answering this appeal can you be helped? So the first thing is to recognize that you need help, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know for myself, I can get stuck in like a pattern of, I'm okay, I think, I'm things are all right.
Yeah.
No, I need help.
Right.
And then recognizing that call for help is actually to my advantage, that it's for my healing.
Yes.
Right.
And if I'm seeing it as separate from me, from somebody outside of me, I'm making the fundamental error that I'm believing that I'm an individual ego and I'm not connected to them. I'm desperately trying to keep myself apart from them so I can stay separate.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite the challenge to realize that when I perceive attack on myself or on others, that I want to be separate. It's like if I keep on believing that may be our initial reaction. Oh, there's an attack. Because the ego always speaks first. So it's going to say, oh yeah, there's an attack. But when we give it to the Holy Spirit, we do realize, wow, I have the power to change my mind and my perception and change what I see in my brother, the attacker, and become free of my pain.
Look at the humor in that last sentence. The Holy Spirit does not need your help in interpreting motivation, but you do need his. It's like we're saying to God, let me help you figure this out, God. The way they're behaving is driving me crazy. And you just need to see that, God.
Yeah. Punish them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can we do about them?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Let me help you out with that, Holy Spirit.
When I was in New York, I used to go to Eric Butterworth's services. He's a unity minister. He was fantastic. And he used to say something like the center of the universe is your mind and there's no end to it. And it's like, no, that's a paraphrase because he was really a master with words and I'm not. But our minds are very powerful. We are projecting or extending all the time.
I mean, that's right. There's all that metaphysics, but closer to home, I
Yeah.
can see that I'm not paying attention to my emotions.
Yeah,
And I keep asking, what can we do about this?
right.
What can we do about it? What can we
I'm
do?
distressed. What should we do? Yeah.
What should we do?
What should they do?
Right.
That's a common one.
But if the Holy Spirit reinterprets it, then
Yeah.
that's the way out.
Yeah. Okay, so any other thoughts on that paragraph? So we need help by recognizing that I have a split mind. I recognize I need help.
Right. I mean, that's where, like in sentence 2, we can recognize when we're starting to be sane, is that truth isn't just what I want it to be,
Right,
right?
you're right. It just is.
Truth is,
Yeah.
and I don't have to make what truth is.
But it's really helpful for me to have that little reminder.
Yeah,
People will choose different ones from the course, but the idea that truth is the one self, that really helps. The one self, one with God and with everybody.
yeah,
And it is love, God's love.
yeah. He's going to pick that up in 14. The truth is true.
All right, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So if there's no other comments on 5, let's go to 6 with Dale.
Only appreciation is an appropriate response to your brother. Gratitude is due him for both his loving thoughts and his appeals for help, for both are capable of bringing love into your awareness if you perceive them truly. Well, okay, I get it. The first sentence, I have trouble extending gratitude. I'm getting to the point where I can, maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but I'm getting to the point where I can forgive them and forgive myself. But extending them gratitude,
Yeah.
it may be a bridge too far for me yet
Yeah, right.
to do. Maybe I'll get there, but that's a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd like to focus on the sense of appreciation, because now I can do something with this situation.
You can change your perception. Yeah.
I can realize that I can be helped
Mhm.
because I have a problem with my emotions.
Okay, let's see, all of your sense of strain comes from your attempts not to do just this. How simple then is God's plan for salvation? There is but one response to reality, for reality evokes no conflict at all. Okay, there is but one teacher of reality who understands what it is. He did not change his mind about reality because reality does not change. Although your interpretations of reality are meaningless in your divided state, his remain consistently true. Those last 3 sentences, I think, are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Is it, how do we get to the point where we understand that what we're appearing to us really is nothingness? And how do we go to that place in us and we extend love quickly?
Right.
And do so. In doing so, we're extending love to them, helping them, we're helping ourselves, and we're helping the world in general.
Yes.
And I still understand the idea of the only reality is God. That's all there is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only one. It's just a struggle sometimes to get there. And Jan, Timothy, you both have said it many times. If I'm not at peace, I'm not there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's the goal for me, at least, is to get back to a sense of peace. And the reason I mentioned that first sentence, I can get to a place of peace, but I'm not necessarily in gratitude
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the situation.
Yeah. Thanks for beating me up, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I want to just give an example of how that was really helpful for me. And it's like after I had been in the course for many, many years, there was a person who just attacked me, I would say mercilessly. And when I finally recognized that I wanted that that there was a part of my mind that wanted to be separate, it stopped. Right? It's like when I took responsibility, so then I could be grateful. And I mean, really grateful for that whole situation, because from the other side of it, I could see that it wasn't really harmful. It was my interpretation of what that person was doing that was harmful. And I was choosing harm for myself. Now, it's like, I think you said, call it a bridge too far. It was too far for me for a long, long time. But when I got there, it's true. I was grateful for that learning, for that experience.
So all you
Because
did is just change your mind about it?
Yeah, but not, yeah, it didn't come overnight. I'll tell you that for sure. Yeah.
Although your interpretations of reality are meaningless in your divided state, his remain consistently true. He gives them to you because they are for you. Do not attempt to help a brother in your way, for you cannot help yourself, but hear his call for the help of God, and you will recognize your own need for the Father. I think there's something really important there. I'm not sure how to say it. I think it just is. Same thing. Let go of the ego and just extend love in that situation to that person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I know I have a situation going on in my life right now. I want them to tell me they're wrong, Jan. You know what you just mentioned. That's why I got kind of quiet thinking about it, because I need to change my mind about that situation.
Mhm.
And just extend that love to them and let God do the healing rather than I think I have to. Because apparently I'm not very good at it because it's an ongoing situation. So extend that love and let God do the healing and just get out of the way. And actually, in a way, release the situation to God and let it go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anyone else want to have a comment on that paragraph 6?
So this is what he's calling our enlightened self-interest.
That's right.
By helping another, I'm helped,
Mm-hmm.
but I need the Holy Spirit's interpretation.
Yeah,
Because fear is a denial of love.
right.
I mean,
That's what it is.
and then we just don't see how much fear is running our mind's life.
Right.
On sentence 3, and all your sense of strain comes through your attempts not to do just this. Is that a reference to trying to block the awareness of love? That's the
Yeah.
strain. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. We do it so many ways. Kathy, would you read 7, please?
Sure. Your interpretation of your brother's needs are your interpretation of yours. By giving help, you are asking for it. And if you perceive but one need in yourself, you will be healed when you give help. Okay. For you will recognize God's answers as you want it to be. And if you want it in truth, it will be yours. Every appeal your answer in the name of Christ brings the remembrance of your Father closer to your awareness. For the sake of your need, then, hear every call for help as what it is, so God can answer you.
Is there anything in there that stood out for you?
Your interpretation of your brother's needs are your interpretation of yours. It's like even if he's worthy of help, I mean,
Right.
it's just it's amazing. Yeah, it's like it. Let's see. depending on your spiritual condition, your wife will look one, or your husband will look one way 1 week, and 3 weeks later, if depending on your spiritual condition, totally different. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So at the end of paragraph 6, it said, hear his call for the help of God. Now, help and then later answer being capitalized, that's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Hear his call for the help of God, and you will recognize your own need for the Father, or your own need for God's help in remembering what we are. And then at the end of 7, paragraph 7, it says, for the sake of your need then, because we need love, peace, unification. For the sake of your need then, hear every call for help as what it is. So when we appear, when attack appears and conflict and chaos appear, ask for the help of God for ourselves. And then we'll be able to share that automatically.
So look at the difference in sentence 2, that first clause. By giving help, what's really going on is you're asking for help, right? Instead of,
Yeah,
I will be the hero and I will help this poor, pathetic person who's behaving in these terrible, enslaving, abandoning ways. I will give them help,
right,
right? And he's saying that this is helping you.
right,
It's the oneness of Christ that's going on. What you do for them, you're doing for yourself.
exactly.
What you do for yourself, you're doing for them. And seeing that connection,
Yeah,
it only comes from the Holy Spirit's interpretation. This is a call for love.
yeah. And
That's all.
it helps to heal the sonship, to heal the belief in separation that I have.
Right.
Yeah,
But like you said at the very beginning of this is not done in the abstract. There's
Right.
very specific relationships,
right,
very specific moments where this is this dynamic,
right,
right?
right.
I don't see how much the sphere is capturing me. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking about, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah,
Right. And we'll get that answer, but not until we restate the problem.
restate the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is in me
And in the whole ego thought system.
and the whole ego thought
Yeah.
system. Yeah. So let's see. Kathy read that one. That would be Connie. Could you read 8 for us, please?
By applying the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the reactions of others more and more consistently, you will gain an increasing awareness that his criteria are equally applicable to you. For to recognize fear is not enough to escape from it, although the recognition is necessary to demonstrate the need for escape. The Holy Spirit must still translate the fear into truth. The truth that we are all one.
Yeah.
If you were left with the fear, once you had recognized it, you would have taken a step away from reality, not towards it. Yet we have repeatedly emphasized the need to recognize fear and face it without disguise as a crucial step in the undoing of the ego. This is all that we're one, and focusing on the fear is my interpretation, and it's all crazy interpretation. Consider how well the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the motives of others will serve you then. Having taught you to accept only loving thoughts in others and to regard everything else as an appeal for help, he has taught you that fear itself is an appeal for help. This is what recognizing fear really means. So when I recognize the fear in myself, it should be a clue to remember who I am, who the other person is. We're all one.
Mhm.
And we're calling for help.
Right. If you do not protect it, he will reinterpret it. That is the ultimate value in learning to perceive attack as a call for love. We have already learned that fear and attack are inevitably associated. If only attack produces fear, and if you see attack as a call for help, that it is, the unreality of fear must dawn on you. Yeah, I made it all up. For fear is a call for love, an unconscious recognition of what has been denied. So fear is just a, anytime I'm fearful, I just need to recognize that it's a call for love, that I'm calling for love when there's fear. And yeah, it's challenging, but when there is fear, if I look at feelings, then I can get to the love easier.
It's a lot easier to recognize your emotional state once you've tuned into it, that your emotional state is either on the side of love and peace and happiness, or fear and its whole panoply of feelings, disappointment, rejection, rage, whatever, right? When you tune into your feelings, you can get, it's like the breadcrumbs in to get back to the belief. I believe I'm protecting myself by thinking this way. And
Right, and
well, wait a second.
the emotional state is always that there's patterns to it. There's themes to it. It's always the same. It's not, that it's related to that particular person. It's all related.
Right.
To me.
Right.
That's why you can generalize the lesson,
That's right.
because it's really all,
Yeah.
the same. So if I'm constantly trying to deal with this through actions, through behaviors,
Mhm.
if I'm constantly doing that, I'm never going to resolve the problem,
Right.
which is exactly what the ego wants.
Yeah.
But if I recognize the problem is my emotions,
Mhm.
and what that emotion really means
Yeah.
is not a denial of love, it's a call for help
Uh-huh.
that I'm willing to give.
Right.
Problem solved right now.
That's right.
Because that's one of the ways, that's why the holy instant in time is so important. Because I can see if I'm thinking in past or future terms. I can see if I'm in the present and I'm feeling peace.
Mhm.
I'm feeling an absence of conflict. I can
Right.
clearly see that without the metaphysics of,
Yeah.
there is no universe or whatever. I
Yeah.
can see that.
Right.
And I can say, I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah. Like chapter 4, section 4. Do you like how you feel? It says there, the one right use of judgment is, do you like how you feel? And that's what this is saying too. And it's saying what Connie just read, in sentence 9, if you do not protect the fear, in other words, you don't hide it from yourself. If you don't protect it, he will reinterpret it. You just say to yourself, I'm in the state of fear. I'm feeling tense.
Right.
I'm not happy. Then Holy Spirit, help me reinterpret this.
And we can't just stop with recognizing the fear.
Right.
We got to take the next step.
The next step. That's what this paragraph is saying. But we do have to recognize it.
Yeah.
And when we recognize it in ourselves as a call for love, I'm scared, help me. That's what happens when you're really willing to say, I'm afraid. Then you'll say, help me.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we recognize that the fear is just a call for love in myself and in somebody else.
That's why see this learning as a process. Like Dale was saying, I may not be ready to be grateful, but I can see what's really going on, and I can turn it around because that's what I want.
Right.
I don't want to be stuck in that. I think I want that.
Right.
I mean, that's so important to get. I just think I want it. But if I bring this up to clear cut predominance, if I really look at the situation,
Mhm.
it will be reinterpreted. And I will see these calls for love and see them answered.
You know, what's really helpful to me is to recognize that emotion is a very personal thing, and personal can be ego,
That's
right?
like Eric said, you're not a fair witness, you have a personal involvement.
Yes, exactly. So recognizing that when I'm afraid, I'm coming from a whole set of interpretations that the world may agree with.
Yeah.
But do I like how I feel? If I don't like how I feel, then it's not true. You know, that interpretation that so-and-so is a bad guy, that situation is evil. All of that can be healed here. That's why the Course says so many times, your only job as a miracle worker is to accept the atonement for yourself.
Yeah.
In other words, give up the fear to the Holy Spirit and be in the state of peace.
Yeah. And then we will know how to respond to a
Yeah.
situation, right?
We will.
Even on this level, we'll
Yeah.
know, how do I respond?
Yeah.
Am I staying in the situation from some misconceived loyalty to friendship or whatever,
Yeah.
or misconceived loyalty to a job or whatever
Or-
it is?
Yeah. Fear of what could happen if I drive my car to that place, or if I do this with my bank account. I mean, there's tons of fears, but there's only one,
Right.
happiness.
And he's recognizing that if I see a speeding car coming at me, there's no way I'm not going to want that to not hit me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I really can see, I don't want
Right.
this situation as I'm seeing it right now.
That's
I want
what-
it to change.
Right. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Fear. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
oh, I was just gonna say one thing, Jen. So if we don't hand it over, even if we recognize it, it's gonna get projected, right? I mean, there's no way to stop that.
Yeah, and it's like if I recognize that I'm fearful, but I don't turn it over, I don't realize he has an answer. He has a way to help me. If I don't do that, I've just experienced the fear even more greatly. And I probably will act out even more. I mean, it's like a two-step process, and you got to take both steps.
So it's funny, this past week, there were some things going on with my husband that like some things were happening in his experience. And I was like, wait, but it's my experience because I know about it. So is he projecting that? And can I change that? Or am I projecting that? And I was just like, stay away from me. keep your badness over there. But if I see it, right, it has to be my fear, right? It wouldn't be my experience otherwise.
Your fear is the only fear you need to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to the first paragraph, interpretation of others is like not your business, you know. So you could look at his situation and see that he's got a call for love, and that's it. But you can't even get there till you look at your own fear, right? And not mix them up.
Right, but that's why, you know, he's saying that Christ self is really, like in paragraph 7,
Yeah.
Every appeal you answer in the name of Christ.
Yeah.
So I'm locked into my personal, individual self-interest world,
Yeah.
right? And if I recognize that it's my interpretation, then I will have something to share in terms of their healing.
Oh, yeah.
They're calling for love. I'm calling for love.
Exactly.
If I answer theirs, we're both answered, but the whole sonship is answered in that moment.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and doing that, it doesn't mean, like, as you said before, it doesn't mean that you stay in the situation. And I'm not referring to your husband, by the way, but just in general, if there's somebody who's causing you harm, or whose actions are increasing your fears, you deal with fear, but you may choose to not be in the presence of that person.
Yes.
Let me
Yes,
give you a
for
real
sure.
let me give you a real good example. There's one, I'll just mention one time. It was something I thought Jan required of me. and it was something I was having trouble doing and not able to do it. It's a small thing, right? But, you know, she's upset because I'm not doing this. And I would bring that up and share it with her, and she goes, I'm not concerned about that.
Mm.
And the whole thing just dissolved like that. I was fearing you
Mhm.
instead of loving you. Like,
Right.
this is the demand she wants of me, and now I'm failing it. Now I should be afraid of what, you know, that whole thing.
We do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The expectations of others, what we think is duty, roles, all
Mhm.
of that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's very complex when
Mhm.
I'm just, hello, I'm afraid.
Right. Right. Until we do that, we have a need to attack and be and see attack. We're in the world of attack.
Attack, defense, defense, attack,
Yeah.
attack, defense.
Yeah.
One thing while I was listening to everybody and thinking about my own situation, it occurred to me that I have to really accept that I am part of the divine.
Yes.
I mean, I really have to believe that.
Yes.
And I need some kind of a confirmation, either by turning it over to divine, the situation resolves itself,
Mhm.
where what we would call a coincidence, maybe something appears that,
Mhm.
and it kind of, those things have happened recently. And I was listening to everybody. Everybody's very thoughtful, by the way. I really learned something from listening to everybody. It occurs to me that those things, for me, are confirmations that we really are connected to the divine.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's only an intellectual
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the lesson, I don't know which one it is, what number, but it says, you're not asked to take this on an unsupported faith. Try it and see what your results are. So you can expect results.
Yeah, expect a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why our learning then has, if it's coming from the Holy Spirit's interpretation and our learning, it's always joyful. And we go, oh yeah, I'd rather have that answer
Right.
rather than running around on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that answer. I mean,
Mhm.
we should expect that.
Yeah.
Like learning is joyful.
You know, sometimes the fear is like a big thing, and other times it's just like a thorn in your side.
Hangnail.
Yeah, right. Like or a toothache. And it's like we can work with those little ones as well as the big ones. Sometimes we just like put up with the little stuff, put up with that hangnail. Well, we don't have to.
We don't
And
just
that's the learning. We can learn in those small situations.
we don't just put up with it. So like I have a hangnail, right? And I used to throw branches through the chipper, and the chipper would just break everything up into a million pieces. So I've got a hangnail. No, that's going to catch the little twig, and then the twig's going to catch the branch. Or no, my hangnail's going to kill me.
That's what we do. I lost track of who's reading as usual. Connie, did you read the last
She
one?
read 8.
Yes. Okay. Laura, would you read 9, please?
Okay. Fear is a symptom of your own deep sense of loss. Now, if when you perceive it in others, you learn to supply the loss, the basic cause of fear is removed. If when you perceive it in others, you learn to supply the loss, does that mean correct the loss or plug in what's missing?
Answer the call for love.
Just give
Got
them
it.
love. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Appreciation. Yeah.
Okay. Thereby, you teach yourself that fear does not exist in you. The means for removing it is in yourself, and you have demonstrated this by giving it. Fear and love are the only emotions of which you are capable. One is false, for it was made out of denial, and denial depends on the belief in what is denied for its own existence. By interpreting fear correctly as a positive affirmation of the underlying belief it masks, you are undermining its perceived usefulness by rendering it useless. Defenses that do not work at all are automatically discarded. If you raise what fear conceals to clear-cut, unequivocal predominance, fear becomes meaningless. You have denied its power to conceal love, which was its only purpose. The veil that you have drawn across the face of love has disappeared. So I just want to go back to 7. By interpreting fear correctly as a positive affirmation of the underlying belief it masks. So fear affirms that you perceive loss.
Yes,
Right.
that you're lost.
Yeah.
You know,
Lost love.
you've lost love. Yeah.
Lost love. Got it. Okay. Then you undermine its perceived usefulness by rendering it useless. I'm not sure if it's saying that we render fear useless.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
And therefore it doesn't exist. So fear causes me to defend against what I'm afraid of. That's what fear is doing.
Yeah, but it's really hiding love.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's really defending against.
But that's the step that I need to
Yeah.
make, that I don't need this behavioral defense against the fear. I
right.
need to see it's my emotions that are out of a whack.
Yeah.
And that once I see that, I can recognize I'm calling for help.
Yeah.
They're calling for help.
Yeah.
What else would we do here but call for what we lost?
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
all we're doing. And we are loving.
Yes, we are. We are made of love.
Yeah.
We're part of God.
That's unlimited power. If I have the ability to correct this problem here,
Mhm.
instead of trying to wonder about the world and actions and all of that, if I
Mhm.
understand I have that power to free myself
Right.
by helping another,
Right. By seeing them
their
as loving.
and their interests aren't separate from
Right.
them. And that's what he calls a teacher of God. You see
Mhm.
somebody's interests as not separate from yours.
Right.
If I
Yeah.
have that power, then nothing can make me fearful.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What would a feeling of grief and a deep sense of grief over, how does that fit? Is that a fear?
Oh, yeah. Because it's a sense of loss.
Yeah, it's a deep sense. I have a deep sense of loss on a long-term relationship, but I don't know how to categorize it. So it's fear.
Yeah.
How is it fear?
We're just loving you.
Yeah. I mean,
We're
that's the
offering you
root,
love.
that's the root word of grievances.
Yeah.
It appears as I have a grievance against you, I have a grievance at this. But
Mhm.
what he's saying here is this is just a sign of your deep sense of loss.
So going back to chapter 4, section 4, now what I'm addressing here is the idea that fear has a lot of different forms.
Mhm.
So in the section called This Need Not Be, it mentions a few things. An unhappy mood, sadness, anxiety, guilt, depression. So it mentions a number of emotions that are unlike love, and they're all the same thing. If there's only really two emotions, love
Right.
and fear, then all of those feelings of separation, loss, need, not enoughness, all of that is a form of fear. And on the other hand, what he categorizes as love, and I'm referring to lessons,
Yeah.
is happiness, joy, peace. What else?
Contentment,
Mm-hmm.
not futurizing the problem, no regrets of the past. I recognize in the moment what the problem is,
Yeah.
and I'm asking to heal it.
Yeah.
And I get that immediately
Yeah.
because I'm no
So-
longer looking at the problem wrong.
Right.
So is grief then a sense of feeling that you can be hurt and that you can lose?
Yes.
Is that what grief is then? So it's not believing in vulnerability.
Well, and it's saying I have lost, which I'm
Right.
hiding because think my grievances are against the world or that person or some situation. I'm hiding. This is a deep sense of loss of love.
Mhm.
So I mean, when I I've read this paragraph 9 for a lot of years, and I would keep reading it, and like I kind of space out, like I don't get what it's saying. And it's just saying that fear in the ego's hands is a denial of love. Fear in the Holy Spirit's hands is an affirmation that fear is a call for love,
Right,
which you answer.
right.
And then your experience, like he said, the real world is just an experience of either loving thoughts or calls for loving thoughts that you see answered.
Mhm.
And then where is fear?
No need for it.
It has no
anymore.
place.
Yeah.
So if I looked at like how we would use the word grief, like, I have someone I love dies as an example, then if I look at that from a course perspective, that's because I believe that I've lost love, but love is real and is eternal. So I haven't lost it. I've just lost that physical presence, right?
Yes.
The five senses kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it all comes back to I'm spirit. I am as God created me. I'm not a body, right? Neither is anyone else. We're here on this plane to undo the false beliefs. We're not here to be without them. We're here to undo them. We have work to do. So we don't want to feel guilty if we're in grief. I mean, that would just be piling more loss on top of that.
And I mean, what I love about the beauty, simplicity of that is it's saying you're just confused here about what's really going on. And you keep trying to ask, what about this behavior? What about these actions? What about these circumstances? What about these actions? How should I act when I just need to see I'm scared?
Yeah.
That I'm experiencing fear, and it's an interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
But just this constantly trying to handle it through behavior is what is the craziness.
It's the hamster wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric, would you finish up for us with number 10?
Okay. If you would look upon love, which is the world's reality, how could you do better than to recognize in every defense against it the underlying appeal for it? And how could you better learn of its reality than by answering the appeal for it, by giving it? The Holy Spirit's interpretation of fear does dispel it, but the awareness of truth cannot be denied. Thus does the Holy Spirit replace fear with love and translate error into truth. And thus will you learn of him how to replace your dream of separation with the fact of unity. For the separation is only the denial of union, and correctly interpreted, attests to your eternal knowledge that union is true. That first sentence, if you look upon love, which is the world's reality, could you do better than to recognize in every defense against it the underlying appeal for it? So it's like fear has a purpose.
In the Holy Spirit's hands.
Yeah, and one of the earlier, paragraph 8, sentence 5, it's saying, recognize fear and face it without disguise as a crucial step in the undoing of the ego.
There you go.
And obviously the undoing of the ego is the aim, isn't it? So it's a crucial step in the fear arising, and us recognizing that that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's something that needs to be undone so we can heal the separation that we've got, the false perceptions.
Yeah. And we can see it in our brother, and we can see it in ourselves. And either way we do it, when we give it to the Holy Spirit, we recognize it and give it to the Holy Spirit, it's undone. So if someone is attacking you, you can see that you can entertain the thought that they're calling for love. And when you do that, your perception shifts. and you're able to see, oh, they just need love. Well, Holy Spirit, help me to love that person. And if it's yourself feeling attacked and having the fear, it's the same story. Holy Spirit, I'm feeling fear. I'm thinking about myself in a way that's false. I have love within me. Show me, help me.
Right.
Help me to reinterpret how I'm experiencing this so that I can feel love for myself and the other person.
So instead of this constant sort of metaphysical discourse about who am I and who are they, what is the world like, what are the actions like, I just recognize I'm experiencing this emotion of fear. I'm experiencing that, and I need help.
Right.
And I get help by helping someone else heal their fears by answering their call for love.
And it's all, according to this section, it's all done by shifting our perception. This section is not dealing with action at all.
Mhm.
We could act, we could be given clarity about what to do
Right.
when we've recognized our fear and recognized the other person's fear, and with the Holy Spirit answer it with love.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts about this?
In that last sentence, it's called fact of unity.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I mentioned a confirmation of actually experiencing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been it's a gradual transition. It hasn't happened all at once where I have,
Right.
all of a sudden things get better. And it took me having an awareness that things were better. It just,
Huh.
I mean, that's so simple to say, but hey, it's better.
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
I didn't do anything different. It's just better.
You did do something different.
Yeah,
You
okay, I
did
guess I
your
did.
inner work. Yeah. Yeah. That just to get back to a real course basic, the miracle has two aspects. The main one is changing our mind. And then there is an action aspect or a physical aspect. There's something that happens on the outer, but that's an effect. And that's what usually the world calls a miracle. And that would be like, we changed in the old movie projectors, when light moved through the film, it's not trying to change what's going on the screen, it's changing what's going on in the projector, then the screen automatically changes. And we don't need to be afraid. That's the real deal here.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And sometimes from the space of not being afraid, you realize that the screen is crooked or the projector isn't working right. And then
Right.
in the world of form, you take actions to correct whatever it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
And just another aside, it's not coming from this section that we just read, but I can't even point to where it comes from, but the idea of not wasting your time constantly trying to get the other person to respond to the miracle in your mind. It's like, I know, do the miracles that you're asked to do, and don't do the miracles you're not asked to do, would be one way to express that.
And part of it is seeing that my emotions are telling me one thing and my behaviors are telling me another thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that's where I'm confused. I think it's about the actions of them trying to enslave me or abandon me or attack.
Yeah.
I think it's about those actions when really it's just my emotion in that moment.
It's whether you're choosing to see it with the Holy Spirit or with the ego.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I can rise up and respond directly to the problem in that moment and get a miracle,
Right.
get a holy instant.
Yeah.
get a way to share this with somebody.
Mhm.
And so instead of I'm being hurt by the world, now I'm there to help.
Right.
That turns the whole thing around. It
Yeah.
empowers us. Yeah.
Any other things you'd like to share? Looked like Connie was thinking. Okay, nothing you want to share?
Good.
Okay,
Good stuff.
okay. Bless you all.